Ladies and gentlemen, we are live here today, and we are going to have a NASCAR Fantasy Podcast edition of another race review. We're going to talk everything that happened this weekend at the Coke 600 just 2 nights ago. My experience, my travel to the racetrack, my first ever Coke 600, and much more. We'll go into power rankings after that on my top 10 as far as my championship favorites for the season as well, and we'll wrap it all up with some NASCAR Heat 5 at the end of the night. We'll continue the career mode onto there. Thanks for everybody tuning in. First and foremost, like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Of course, this is the NASCAR Fantasy Podcast. First and foremost, we did not have any prediction video this week like I originally hoped for because of things that transpired on my trip to the racetrack this weekend. We'll get into that in detail in a little bit, but for right now, we have to talk about the race itself, I think, first and foremost, before we get into the road trip story. Thanks for everybody tuning in here today. Again, like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. And we're about to hop on into this stream. So, first and foremost, Stage 1 flew by very fast, as most of the race did. We only had 2 cautions for incident the entire race, and one of them was at the end of Stage number 2, when Ryan Newman ended up getting into at the end of Stage 3, where Ryan Newman got into an accident that actually merged into the end of Stage 3. So, only one caution for incident that literally disrupted the race because we knew those 4 stages were going to be put in place. Pretty much the whole race was dominated by Kyle Larson. Obviously, started with Stage 1. He qualified on the pole. Also, Patrick Chatterley, Carney Boy, Ashton G, Kyle Larson fan, welcome to the stream. Came for the stories of this weekend. Yes, there will be plenty of storytelling going on after I talk about the race itself. First and foremost, again, Stage 1, there were no cautions for incident in the opening stage. Kyle Larson took dominance, and really Hendrick Motorsports as a whole took dominance from Stage 1, and they kept it all the way to the end of the race. Kyle Larson won the stage. Chase Elliott was second. William Byron third. So 1, 2, 3 for Hendrick Motorsports in the opening stage. Kevin Harvick was the highest running Ford pretty much all day long. He was actually the only Ford to finish in the top 10 in stage number 1. And not only he was the only Ford to finish in the top 10 in stage 1, he was pretty much the only Ford in the top 10 all day. All 3 Penske cars really didn't have any speed at all. They were running outside the top 10 all day long. The Stewart-Haas cars outside of Harvick were, as they have been for most of the year, been running outside the top 10. But Harvick, especially in the first half of the race in the daytime, seemed to be when he was at his best. Richard Childress Racing had a great day. People talk about the dominance of Hendrick Motorsports this weekend. I think it was just overall a Chevy-dominated race. You look at the guys that also had top 10 runs. Austin Dillon finished 5th in the stage. Tyler Reddick finished 8th in the stage, both for RCR. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in Stage 1, who qualified outside pole in second, had a lot of speed early on. He scored stage points in Stage 1 as well. And then we have Alex Bowman rounding out the top 10. 7 of the top 10 drivers at the end of Stage 1 were all Chevys. So to say that Hendrick Motorsports was the only person that dominated this race this weekend, team-wise, that is not the main picture there. I think it was just Chevy as a whole was just so much better than every other manufacturer in the field. Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr. also had stage points, Stage 1 finishing 6th and 7th. In Stage 2, we had our first of 2 cautions for incident. Kurt Busch ended up blowing an engine, leaving fluid on the racetrack. He had gone into the garage earlier in that said stage, came back out. Engine definitely blew up at that point in time. Not the first time we've seen Kurt Busch blow an engine on a 1.5 miles in recent years. Las Vegas last season in the playoffs had the same thing. And he also blew an engine this year. I believe it was at Kansas as well. He had blown an engine throughout the race. So I don't know what it is with that number 1 team exactly. Obviously, they haven't been doing that great in really all season. And we've seen this with teams in the past. We saw it with Roush Fenway Racing in the early 2010s. They were losing their veterans, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Trevor Bayne, some of these younger drivers start to fill in, and they can't quite live up to the expectations. The team starts to drop its speed. We saw it literally with Hendrick Motorsports a few years ago. We were seeing guys like Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson now getting up there in age or retiring. Casey Kane as well retired. He moved from Hendrick in 2018, but then he retired before the end of the 2018 season anyway. So we saw that, and then when we had the new crop of drivers in Bowman, Byron, Elliott, they weren't necessarily living up to the expectations there early, and they were just off on speed pretty much the entire 2018 season into most of 2019 as well. And I think we're starting to see that with Chip Ganassi Racing. Yes, I know Kurt Busch is still there, but when you swap out a guy, and I'll say this first, Kyle Larson, who was at Ganassi in 2019 and then early into 2020 before he got suspended, to replace a guy like Kyle Larson, he's almost irreplaceable. We've obviously seen the talent he has held within that Hendrick Motorsports number 5 car, that team as a whole. This is the same team that missed the playoffs 2 years in a row with Jimmy Johnson, 7-time champion. The kid's got talent. So to go from, setups and input from him to Matt Kenseth, who I know Matt Kenseth did not perform well at all. He only had 2 top 10s last year filling in for Kyle Larson. But having that veteran mindset to match up with Kurt Busch, plus the chemistry they had between the two of them, being teammates before way back when with Roush Fenway, they can get along with each other good, they can share information. That had to have helped Kurt Busch. Replacing Larson and Kenseth with Ross Chastain, who, don't get me wrong, Chastain's got talent. It's not the same kind of talent. He's not a veteran in the sport. He hasn't been in the Cup Series that long. When he has, he's been with underfunded equipment. We've seen guys all the time. It seems like they just get into a competitive car after not being in a competitive car. And although they might do good and might exceed expectations even from time to time as well, again, the relay, that seems to be the downfall for a lot of these teams. And right now, Chip Ganassi Racing is going through a rough spot. They're in danger of both cars missing the playoffs this season. And we look back in 2017, Larson, McMurray both made the playoffs. 2018, Larson made the playoffs at least, even though he didn't win. He was very close to winning a couple races throughout that season. McMurray missed the playoffs, but then they replaced him with Kurt Busch. Larson and Kurt Busch both made it to the playoffs, both made it to the round of 12 last year. 2020, Kurt Busch makes it to the round of 8 this year. I don't see any one of those two making the playoffs. I think Kurt Busch can turn it around. He can turn it around. The downside of the things is going to be these 550 racetracks. That team has struggled more in the 550 tracks than the 750 tracks. We got 2 races at Pocono coming up very soon. We got more races into the middle of the summer. We go back to Atlanta again, which he did look strong, but didn't get the finish. Another race where he DNF'd on a mile and a half. That one team needs to clean it up. They need to clean it up fast. We only have 11 races, I think, before the playoffs now. This was race 15 this weekend. 11 races before the playoffs, and we only have 5 spots open on points as it is right now with 11 different winners. That team needs to get it together, and they need to get it together fast. So I just want to put that out there as well. Diamond Jeff, hey, welcome on into the stream as well. Finally, Kyle Larson doesn't get another second. Exactly. And so the Stage 2 results, because that was the only incident in the stage, and pretty much, it was the same race through every stage tonight. Hendrick was dominating with the RCR cars not far behind. Chevrolet, I'm going to keep repeating myself there, but Chevrolet as a whole was dominant from start to finish. Larson, Elliott, Byron, 1, 2, 3 for the second straight stage in Stage 2. Kyle Busch moves up a couple spots to finish 4th in the stage, put himself into the fold of getting a top 3 run perhaps by the end of the race, which we did see that he was able to do. But anyway, that's where he was at Stage 2. Tyler Reddick continues his great performance, finishing 6th in Stage 2. Harvick falls back to 7th, but still well inside the top 10. Obviously the highest running Ford all race long. William Byron as well. Or sorry, not William Byron, Alex Bowman in the 48 car as well with the top 10 finishing 7. Harvick was 6th. Harvick was 6th. Reddick was 5th. Bowman was 7th. Chris Buescher 8th in the stage. He started to propel himself forward. I noticed even at Dover a couple weeks ago, I know it's a 750 track, but it's still an intermediate racetrack. That team on the intermediates this year has been dominant. Not dominant, but they've been very, very good. We saw him win a stage at Homestead this year as well. And I was at Dover, I was at Charlotte, and both of those runs, I was keeping an eye on Chris Buescher because I was like, man, he was right there around 7th through 10th. Pretty much the entire race, 8th in Stage 2 at the halfway mark. Denny Hamlin creeped himself into the top 10 for the first time, finishing 9th in the stage. And Austin Dillon started to slide back. I don't know what happened at Stage 2. They probably just went the wrong way with the adjustments in that stage. But one way or another, they kind of slipped back a little bit. They propelled themselves forward, though, by the start of stage number 3. Michael Turner, welcome to the stream. Chevys are fast this season. Yes, they are. Between Hendrick Motorsports and RCR together, they're definitely looking very, very fast, to say the least. We mentioned briefly that the last caution for incident came at the end of stage 3. It was when Ryan Newman had hit the wall. Looked like he had blown a right front tire, if I'm not mistaken. Ended up hitting the outside wall. When I was at the racetrack, I saw Kurt Busch blow an engine and blowing smoke. I remember seeing that. I don't remember actually seeing Ryan Newman hit the wall. Obviously, the caution flag came out. We saw the replay on the big backstretch Jumbotron, but I didn't actually see that live when it happened. And then we were on, or I should say where I was sitting was on the entrance to pit road, as you guys will see in the vlog that uploads on Thursday. You'll see that I was on the entrance of pit road and got him sparking into the pits. I can't remember if I caught video of him sparking into the pits there or if it was Truex. I got one of the two because Truex blew a tire in the final stage as well. But stage 3 results. Kyle Larson again wins stage 3. 1-2 finish instead of 1-2-3 this time. William Byron moves up to second. Kyle Busch propels forward to third. Chase Elliott fourth. Bowman rounds out the top 5 of stage 1. Reddick stays right there in 6th. Denny Hamlin moves up slowly to 7th. Austin Dillon moves up again slowly to 8th. Bubba Wallace started to propel himself in the second half of the race into the top 10, 9th at the end of stage 3. And Kevin Harvick slowly started slipping back throughout the race, but still was the most consistent Ford driver throughout. Scored stage points in all 3 stages. The only Ford driver to score stage points in the first 3 stages of this race. Of course, this was 4 stages long, with it being the longest race of the year. Since stages were implemented in 2017, that has been the case. So no shocker, they did that again this season. And into the final stage, another caution-free stage. Kyle Larson would pull away. There was a little bit of a battle there towards the end of the first tire stint in the first fuel and tire stint in stage 1, or sorry, in stage 4, where it looked like Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, William Byron were slowly starting to catch Larson. Larson wasn't catching the lap traffic as well. I thought personally, watching the line that Kyle Larson was running versus those guys behind him, they were closing because they were simply finding the clean air. They were running where Larson and the lap cars weren't. Larson literally ran right behind a lap car. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Eric Almirola. He was running right behind Almirola for like 10 laps in a row. Like same line over and over, whether he went to the bottom, whether he went to the top. He could not pick a different line. I think Almirola was purposely trying to go keep from going a lap down, which I think Almirola was a lap down at that point. He was trying to keep from going 2 laps down, and I was wondering if he was ever going to let him go. And then Chase Elliott starts to close that gap to within about a half a second or so. Green flag pit stops come about. The 5 team of Kyle Larson not only beats everybody else off of the green flag pit stops, but he actually gained a little bit of time as well, despite being the last of those drivers to pit by a couple laps. So even pitting a couple laps later, he did not lose the lead. That team had a very fast pit stop there. Not sure if the broadcast might have picked up on that side of things, but he was about a half a second to 3/4 of a second ahead of second, and then third and fourth were right there behind second place at the time, Chase Elliott. And then he came out of the pits, I believe, a second and a half ahead. So he gapped about a second to 3/4 of a second. That's huge, especially, it gives the driver so much more confidence knowing that the cars in his rearview mirror are that much smaller than what they were a couple laps prior. So when everything cycled through, Larson had the gap. He stated in the post-race that he had gotten behind Eric Jones in the last 30 to 40 laps of the race. Jones came off of pit road. He was running a little bit different strategy where he tried to stay out as long as he could to catch a caution and maybe trap some guys a lap down. So when he pitted with about 40 to go, he had fresher tires than everybody else who came to pit road 10 to 15 laps prior. With those fresher tires, we're seeing a little bit better tire fall off now at Charlotte, and we saw that again on Sunday where Larson was just able to train right behind Jones, and they were able to pull away from the pack as we had an epic battle for second place in the final 20 laps of the race between Elliott, Busch, and Byron. And I gotta say, and I'll actually go through the finishing results. I'll go through the finishing results, and then I'll talk about the race as a whole and my experience with it. So the finishing results to today's race, at least the top 10, were Kyle Larson with the win, winning all 4 stages. Max points day in the most points he could score in a single race all year, 70 in this very race. He led 327 of the 400 laps. Dominant performance from start to finish. I have never been to a race where I saw a guy dominate as much as Larson in these last 2 races that I've gone to. between this race and then Dover. He did not seal the deal at Dover. Bowman got the win. So first time I've seen Kyle Larson win in person this weekend, so I guess that's pretty cool. Second win of the year for him. Chase Elliott, who ran second pretty much all day, second through fourth at least all day, had a great car, just not as great as Larson. We saw when he would close in or maybe take the lead on a short run on a restart, Elliott seemed to have a little bit better short run car than Larson. Larson obviously had the long run speed, as we saw. That's why he led so many laps. Elliott would get out in front. Larson was able to get around him. When Larson was out in front on the long run, though, nobody could get around him. It would have had to take a lot more than lap traffic to get by. Again, a restart was really the only time he lost the lead tonight. That and the cycling of green flag pit stops, guys trying to stay out maybe a little bit longer. That's the only reason he didn't lead more than 3:27. At the end of the day. Kyle Busch, who led just one lap all day long, was still top 5 all day, finished third. William Byron fourth. Alex Bowman rounds out the top 5. So all 4 Hendrick drivers finish in the top 5 here today. Coincidentally, I was at the Dover race and I was at the Coke 600 where all 4 Hendrick drivers finished in the top 5 both races. When I go to Nashville in a couple weeks, if all 4 Hendrick guys finish in the top 5 again, I think you got to put it on me. I think you got to say it's because Keegan Schneider is at the racetrack. That's why they're performing so well. Second race in a row I've been to now that they have, as a whole, just dominated. They got the win. Different driver this time, but the same driver dominated. Cameron Farrell, welcome to the stream. Is it the first caution of the day? Question mark. First caution of the day. Yeah, the first caution of the race was the Coke 600. Or, what did I just say there? The first caution of the race was Kurt Busch blowing an engine, leaving fluid oil on the racetrack. So that was the first caution for incident, at least, on Sunday. So, my thoughts on the race as a whole. The perspective thoughts that I saw from numerous post-race videos, 3 separate post-race videos, in fact, actually 4 if you count a live stream. So I watched 4 separate post-race videos, or listened to them at least, on the way back home Monday after the race. Their perspective versus my perspective in person is 100% and completely different. Again, I was not able to watch the broadcast on TV. Being at the race in person, you can feel the nostalgia of the Coke 600. The pre-race festivities with everything being about with supporting the troops and everything like that, you can just kind of feel the nostalgia of it. The pre-race build-up, the couple hours beforehand, hearing people chattering around like, oh yeah, I've been to the Coke 600 so many times. People love this, going to this race in person. It seems like it is that grand event, and just the Charlotte Motor Speedway area, so you can feel the nostalgia of it. That alone, I would highly recommend going to the Coke 600 if you ever get an opportunity to go. I've seen videos, recently on YouTube as well, that it's losing its nostalgia. I would say from a TV perspective, it probably has, because that's honestly what I had thought. But after being at the race this weekend in person, you do, for the first time, again, it's the first Coke 600 I've ever been to, and you can definitely feel the nostalgia factor in it all, and by the end of the race, it was that I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The race itself, did I think it was good? Did I think it was bad? In person, I thought it was great. I thought it was a good race. I thought it was a good 1.5 mile race, and here's why. Yes, Kyle Larson dominated the race throughout. He obviously had the fastest car, and the fastest driver and the fastest car won the race. And he won by 10 seconds, too. But there were battles all over the racetrack, specifically in the top 10 that wasn't for the lead. We had seen battle for the leads on multiple different restarts at the beginning of the stages, or that split pit strategy at the end of stage 2, where we saw some guys take 2 tires versus 4. There was a lot of great battles up towards the front there as well. 3 by 3 off the exit of turn 2 a lot of times on the restarts further back in the pack. But there were, even on the long runs, which there was a lot of long runs with only 2 cautions for incident in this race, that there were still a lot of great battles throughout the pack. I can't confirm, obviously, without watching the broadcast, that Fox picked up on it. I heard the coverage of the race was terrible. There were a lot of commercials, as we have seen with Fox, and a critique I had during the truck race on Friday night when we did the live stream and the realistic broadcast there when I was doing my own broadcast, my own commentary of the race. I know I stated there were a lot of commercials, specifically in the first two stages, and so I heard a lot about that the coverage, was bad, and that helped kind of deteriorate the race compared to the Indy 500, especially that was on earlier in the day, which I was only able to see the end, and I'll get to a reason why I was only able to catch part of that race. But so the nostalgia was there in person. The race as a whole, I thought was good in person. It wasn't the greatest race I've seen in person. I've seen a lot of good races. So I mean, both races I've been at Talladega have been awesome, especially this last one. Again, the first. Or the only race they've raced at Talladega so far this year is still the best race I've seen in person so far. And I think this was my 16th race I've seen in person, Cup Series-wise, counting the All-Star race at Bristol. The 2018 Brickyard 400 was really good. That pops to mind. The Southern 500 last season in person was awesome. It was a great race. So there have been some really, really great races, and the list can go on and on. I mean, Chicagoland 2019 was a great race, another one I've seen in person. So I have seen some really good races in person, and this one I feel like honestly falls right in the middle. I had a lot of fun. The fans were lively at the racetrack, getting the full capacity back. I don't know on TV how much it might have done justice, but in person, it was pretty full. It wasn't a sellout. They were allowing, a full capacity. And I think it would have been a full capacity. We've seen full capacities at the Coke 600 the last few years. They've had fans, at least obviously not last year for obvious reasons. But we have seen them sell out their 89,000 tickets, which is the max capacity in the stadium, not counting campers or stuff. That's the attendance in the grandstands. That's the max. We've seen them sell out. Again, this race is still a big deal, especially to the locals in the Charlotte area. That is for sure. It's a home race for a lot of these, well, pretty much every team in the garage nowadays. So, throwing it all together. And again, the race I thought was good. I thought it was an 8 out of 10 race. But granted, this is because I was there in person and I was able to watch battles throughout the pack the entire race, because there were a lot of great battles inside the top 10. That battle for second and third at the end of the race, Byron Busch going back and forth. I know, I think TV might have at least shown that. I would assume they would have showed that battle between Busch and Byron late. Well, it was a 3-car battle between Elliott, Byron, and Busch for the 15 laps prior to the final 5, and all 3 of them were going back and forth, and that was awesome, especially with Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch being involved. Obviously, the 2 of the most polarizing drivers in NASCAR. One is the fan favorite, and one might be the least favorite of the fans. So when they were going back and forth, and when Byron was getting in the mix too, the fans were treating it like it was a battle for the win. And it was just a battle for second there in person. I mean, there were so many, obviously you go to a race, there's so many Chase Elliott fans, but there's a decent amount of Kyle Busch fans too. And you could just hear, like, the crowd, over the car, at least in my general area, when they were battling, he's going to get, no, he's not. And that was awesome too. So that added to the experience. Plus, with it being late in the race, you never know if you're going to get a caution. That battle for second means so much more if we get a caution and they can restart on the front row. We know these restarts are crazy, especially with this package. So, and we've seen Larson choke away restarts late in the race already a couple times this year. So that wasn't out of the question by any means. So it was an important battle, to say the least. I had a lot of fun, if you guys can't tell, at least with the race on Sunday. Afyu, welcome to the stream. What's up, man? What's up, indeed? Got Blaney merch. Ethan, Jackson Thomas, welcome to the stream as well. I did not get any Blaney merch this weekend, and I think this is where I should start rolling in the story. I've talked about the race itself. Again, if I had to rate the race 8 out of 10. Also, with the predictions, I could not get the predictions video out for this particular reason, but I did predict Kyle Larson to win the race. If you want proof of it, say if you don't believe me, you can go onto the NASCAR Fantasy app. If you're not in the league, first and foremost, join the league. You have a chance to win 2 tickets to any NASCAR race if you're choosing outside of the Daytona 500 in 2022. If you win the season championship or the playoff championship, you're eligible for the playoffs just by simply playing. So it's not like you have to, NASCAR where you have to win a race and you're locked in. No, you don't have to win a week to get locked in. You're automatically locked into that. So you have 2 chances to win. If it's too late for you to join in the regular season and get some practice. Again, you can go to the NASCAR app or website, go to the fantasy portion, sign up with your email, and it's free to join. So I highly recommend it. And also, you can go on there. You can search like week by week what the standings were on a week by week basis. If you go back into the league and then like the live results, and you can click on each individual entry and see their team. There's a section for bonus points on there. If you scroll down to that portion, you'll see that I picked Kyle Larson to win. So for the first time this season, I predicted the right winner, and practice and qualifying helped me out with this one. Obviously, Kyle Larson's had speed on the mile and a half, but him qualifying on the pole was the big takeaway. That's where I went hands down. Larson's got the track position. He doesn't have to fight for it like he did at Darlington. Darlington late in the race, if he could have gotten the track position on Truex late, it might have been role reversal, and Larson was going to be driving the wheels off the thing, trying to keep Truex behind him versus Larson behind Truex. So that track position game, it doesn't matter what track you go to. It doesn't matter what car, what package you have. Track position always means a lot. So for him to start on the pole, knowing his dominance on the mile and a half with how many laps led, I predicted he was going to lead over half the race and win the race, and he did just that. Are you going to a NASCAR Heat 5 race? Oh, yeah, I am going to. I thought you said, are you going to? Yeah, I will be doing at least one NASCAR Heat 5 race after this live stream right here. Kyle Larson deserved the win. Larson owned that race for sure, 100%, and he got the job done. He did not choke this one away, that is for sure. He did not let this race get out of hand and get out of his control. And it helped that there weren't any late race cautions, and there were only 2 cautions per incident total, which kept him out in front. Even during the stage breaks, his pit crew was great. Having that number 1 pit box was awesome for him as well, because there were a couple close races where Elliott might have had a little bit faster of a stop, but having that number 1 pit box versus wherever Elliott was in the middle somewhere definitely helped him out. Okay, now what you've all been waiting for, my story, my experience getting to Charlotte Motor Speedway and getting to the Coke 600 this weekend. Why there was no predictions video, why I missed a majority of the, or at least part of the Indy 500, and why I was not able to do the things I wanted to do. So I left Saturday morning, got up set my alarm at 6 a.m., finished packing the rest of my stuff. I left out the door. I had a 9-hour drive from where I live to Charlotte Motor Speedway, and I was staying in a hotel about 20 minutes south of Charlotte, so a little over 9-hour drive at least to the hotel. I was planning pretty much driving straight down there, probably play a round of golf that Saturday. I went down, and then I was going to go to the NASCAR Hall of Fame as soon as it opened at 9 a.m. on Sunday, go there for a few hours, show you guys around, do a vlog. And then I was also going to, from there, go back to the hotel to watch the Indy 500 at noon, being my hotel was like 10, 15 minutes from, the Hall of Fame. I felt like 2.5 to 3 hours was plenty of time in there, considering I spent 5 hours in there the first time I went. I wasn't going to spend that much the second time ever going to the stuff, but there were a lot of new things over the last couple of years I might not have been able to see in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I was looking forward to it. Couldn't do that either, and here's why. So I was on my way down, trying to think what time it was. The trip, very good. There surprisingly wasn't much traffic on Saturday on the way down. And I was in Mooresville. So I was about to, and one thing leads to another. So I was going to go golfing at Mooresville's golf course. I had played there on the way down to Darlington a couple years prior. So I was like, oh, it was a nice course. I want to go there and I'm going to play golf again. Well, I was like 10 minutes out from the golf course. And I was like, oh shoot, I forgot my golf clubs. So I didn't even bring my golf clubs with me. I was on the way to Mooresville, a little bit out of my way to Charlotte, but it was on the way down. And I was like, oh shoot, well I guess I can't play golf. So I was like, I'll just go to the Penske race shop, see if they're open. I don't know if they were, because when I went through Charlotte to get to Darlington last year, they were closed because of COVID. So let me swing by and check, because the hours on the internet, I don't trust that anymore for other reasons. You guys might have heard that before. Maybe you'll hear it again at some other time in the future. But those stories will come back up eventually anyway. But so that's a side story for another day. But anyway, so I don't trust the hours on Google. So and I was in Mooresville anyway. Just outside of Mooresville is the Penske race shop. I'm a huge Ryan Blaney fan. I was going to get my Blaney merch, and I planned on getting a cutout piece of the car that I, at the time 2 years ago, didn't have the money for. That I more than enough have the money now, so I was going to try to pick that up and again vlog the inside Penske race shop, give you a look around at the the catwalk that they have there and stuff. Well, they were closed, and so I got there. They were closed. There were a couple other people there that were trying to get into, and they're like, "Oh man, it's closed too." So that were there for the race weekend. So couldn't go golfing, and I couldn't go to the Penske race shop. So it was like 4:00, maybe pretty early in the evening yet, and I'm like, well, the Hall of Fame closes in an hour, so I can't go to the Hall of Fame today. That's where I decided, okay, I'll just go Sunday morning, like I planned originally anyway. And I'll just relax. I had a 9-hour drive. I'll just relax. I'll go to the hotel. But let me get something to eat on the way down. So going through Mooresville, I ate at a Whataburger for the first time ever on the way down to Darlington. Well, I remembered that Whataburger was in downtown Mooresville, so I was like, okay, I'll go there again. I knew where it was at, so I drove there and pulled in right behind this pickup truck and trailer. It was a pickup truck towing a trailer. Not a big trailer. He had some like washing machines and dryers on the back. Probably going to take him to like a recycling center or something, if I had to guess, because they look pretty beat up. But anyway, he had like 5 of them on there, so he had a trailer. It was a longer trailer. It wasn't like one of those like short ones where you might take brush to like a dump or something like that. It wasn't that kind of trailer. It was long enough to fit like a car on it. So it was a normally long trailer to pull into a drive-through line. So I thought that was kind of odd. He was turning in. I was following him, so I was going to follow him in there. If you've ever been to a Whataburger, it's almost kind of like a Sonic setup where you'll have like the drive-through. You'll have the drive-through line. It's not like a McDonald's where you have like a drive-through line all the way around the restaurant. There's like mini pickup sessions. You'll order your food on like a radio. There was like 12 different like radio sets. So you would order your food on a radio. They'd bring the food out to you. You could eat it there, or you can go from there. Or you could go inside and eat if you wanted to. It was a little warmer that day, so there were people eating inside, and I was going to eat inside because it was 4 o'clock. It was 4 o'clock. I had nothing else to do the rest of the day because I couldn't go to the Penske race shop. I couldn't go golfing. So I was like, I got 4. It's only 4 o'clock. I've got like 6 to 7 hours to kill before I have to go, and I'm only like 40 minutes out from my hotel. So no big deal. So I pull into Whataburger. And the guy with the pickup truck and trailer pulled into a drive-thru spot. I pulled into a parking spot. I was just going to go inside and eat again. I had a lot of time. I pull in. I guess the way he pulled in, the trailer was kind of cockeyed. It might have been sticking out like in the way for other people to get in. So when I pull into my parking spot, which is towards the back of the parking lot, just to take care of I always park towards the back. I go to Walmart, I park towards the back. I always park towards the back. Some of that is because I used to work at Lowe's and we had to park at the back. But anyway, I always park at the back. I don't mind walking, the extra, 50 yards if I have to. So I parked at the back in a safe spot. So I thought. He backs up, kept backing up, I literally was in my parking spot for 5 seconds. I pulled in right behind him. For like maybe 5 seconds, I was in my parking spot. I was taking the phone off the aux cord, so I could take my phone inside. I'm not going to leave my phone in my car when I'm not around my car for obvious reasons. So, I'm plugging the phone from the aux cord, and this trailer backs right into my left front. I mean, not full speed, but about as fast as you could, like reverse and then pull forward in a parking lot at Whataburger. Backs right into the left front. Mind you, I have a rental car. So it's not my car, which, it's a win-lose situation. That wasn't my car. Obviously, I didn't have to pay for my own damages, so that's nice. I did pay the deductible before I left Enterprise to pick my car up the night before I left. Thank goodness I did that because they were able to pay for all the damages done because I was in the wrong. So, I was in the right in that sense because he backed up and he gets out of the car and he was nice. He was apologetic. He was like, "Oh man, I didn't see you there." He's like, he's like, "When I pulled in, there was nobody there." And I was like, "Yeah, I pulled in like right behind you." So essentially what tells me is that he pulled in and because there was nobody there when he originally pulled in, he thought there was still nobody there. He probably didn't check his rearview mirror. Well, coincidentally, I was obviously there. I pulled in right behind him. And he backed into my left front. It was enough damage. Like, it caved. The headlight was fine, but, like, where the left front fender was, it was caved in on the tire where, like, it could have caused the tire rub very easily the way it was. So it was too damaged. And I was kind of stuck there. And So he was like, yeah, just call the cops, do whatever you need to do, whatever. And I was just in shock because like I was like, did that seriously happen? Like, how did that happen? In a parking lot, like literally 5 seconds after I pulled in, and I was just sitting in a parked car, so it wasn't like I was moving at all. I was in a parked car, and I got hit, and so I called the cops. It took the cops a while to get there, and probably because you call 911. You say that I said that there was a fender bender in the Whataburger parking lot in downtown Mooresville. I called the local police, so they obviously knew exactly where that was, and they were like, okay, we'll be there shortly. Because I said nobody was hurt, that's probably why it took them nearly a half hour to get there. So, always be truthful if you're ever in an accident or anything like that, if somebody is hurt or not, but just note that if nobody's hurt, it's probably going to be a little bit before they get there. They're probably not going to, rush and send the ambulance if nobody's hurt, which obviously nobody was hurt, so they didn't send any ambulance or anything. And I was like, nope, everybody's fine. We're sitting off to the side. So cop gets there, gets out, has to write, we both told our stories. Our stories were identical, that, he had pulled in, he didn't know I was there, backed right into me. My story was the same thing. So, again, the guy was really nice. That happened. And then asked for the driver's license and proof of insurance. So, obviously, he has that. Well, because it's a rental car, I don't have proof of insurance. So, they have to pull it up where I got the car from. If I paid for the cars, that it wasn't stolen, all that stuff, and that took about another half hour. So it was like, okay, I wasn't in a hurry anyway, but it, obviously that kind of sucks. And funny story. While the cop went into her car filing out the report, this dude, the guy that hit me, he walks back up to where his truck was, and he orders his food on like the radio prompter. He's like, whoa, while I'm here, I might as well get my food. And I'm just like standing out there, whatever. He gets his food. He gets into his truck, and he's just eating it, waiting for the cop. And then it was a bright sunny day all day, and I kid you not, there was a pop-up shower, and it downpoured for like 10 minutes when I was just standing outside my car. And I got drenched. I got like really wet. And, the cop gave us the insurance back or whatever. And she told me, she's like, you don't plan on driving this thing, do you? I was like, well, I was working my way to the hotel. I figured I'd get something to eat. So that's why I was, here in the first place. And essentially, I wasn't like scared at that point in time, but I was like, now where to go? Because she was giving me options. She was like, well, do you want me to call a tow truck? Are you going to be able to get that? Because when she tried looking up that I had like the insurance waiver, like the insurance paid for already, that if I got an accident or something, that Enterprise would cover for it. And she couldn't find any of that. And so she was asking me if I wanted to call a tow truck or anything. And I'm like, I really don't want to, because I shouldn't have to pay for this. Like, I had already paid for the waiver. And I had got my car towed a few years prior on another side story that I've covered already on the channel. But anyway, so I'd gotten it before, and that was like $150 to get out. And I had already paid for the hotel room. I have like a limit that I could spend on my card in one day. So I had like a limit I could spend on my card in the day, and if it was going to be anything close to $200, I wasn't going to be able to, bail my own car out, and I was going to need to take that car home. So I was like, no, I'm not just going to get it towed away. She's like, well, you shouldn't drive it. She's like, you should, just Uber back to your hotel for the night and figure, something out. She went into the Whataburger and told him, hey, is it okay if he leases his car here? And they had no problem with it. So, I was about to Uber back to the hotel. The cop left, and I was like, I have to drive this thing back to the hotel. I was like, I can't just leave my luggage here. Because, it's one thing to call an Uber, but I have all my luggage in the back seat, in the trunk. I have my I can't just call an Uber and go to the hotel with my clothes, expensive equipment. I had my new camera, my laptop, my PlayStation, because I didn't know if I was going to always bring that, even though I never use it when I go places. But anyway, I had all that stuff with me, so I had a lot of expensive stuff too. I was like, I can't just leave that in the car, 40 minutes away from where I'm staying. So I'm like, I have to get the car back. so I can get my luggage in the hotel. So after she left, a couple minutes after she left, I nursed it. I was like going 40, 45 miles an hour down the back roads. I did have to get on the highway, but I stayed in the right lane. Basically riding right on that like white line the whole time, if there were faster traffic, because trying to nurse it home. Never had a tire. I did pull the fender out as much as I could. There was somebody else there too that thankfully helped me. Again, a lot of nice citizens in the Charlotte area. But anyway, he didn't witness it, but he was there after, and I was like, yeah, he was like, oh man, he's like, is that your car? I was like, yeah, it just happened. Told him the story or whatever, and so I was like, I need to pull this fender. I was like, I'll help you for a couple seconds. So we pulled the fender out as much as we could. The only time there was like any sort of like sounding like it was rubbing was when I was turning right. Not on the highway turning right, but like turning off of the highway where I actually had to like crank the wheel. That was the only time, but by that time I was really close to the hotel anyway, so I wasn't worried about it. Got to the hotel safely, and then couldn't get a hold of roadside assistance at all from Enterprise. Could not get a hold of roadside assistance at all from Enterprise that night. Tried calling them, tried a couple different numbers, nothing. All the Enterprises in the local area were closed because not only it was Saturday night, but they were also all closed on Sunday. And they were all closed Monday because it's Memorial Day weekend, and Memorial Day was Monday. They were all closed then. No Enterprise open until Tuesday. I couldn't get a hold. Worst case scenario, I was like, I'm stuck in Charlotte till Tuesday, without a working vehicle. And I'm stuck in the hotel. Worst case scenario, I was going to Uber, to the race at least, because I figured, well, if I'm going to be stuck here till Tuesday, if I can't get a hold of anybody, I might as well go to the race. Yeah, I was originally supposed to be back Monday. I was thinking I was going to have to call off work Tuesday and Wednesday because I wasn't going to be able to get home in time. All these things were kind of going through my head, and I was just so exhausted and tired. I went to bed at like 9 o'clock, 9:30 when I got back to the hotel that night. Slept till like 7:30, got up in the morning. I was like, okay, I need to figure out a plan because, I don't know if I'm going to get stuck here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to the race, whatever. And again, this is Sunday when I woke up. So it was Sunday, 7:30, trying to get to work on this. Finally got a hold of roadside assistance. They called the tow company that was down the street. They called the tow company that was, well, not down the street, but they were like a couple miles away, down the street at least, and down the highway. So called the tow company. They were going to come and get there. And then they asked, they were like, yeah, we'll try to get you, hooked up to get a ride with them so you can go to the airport and pick up a car there, because there was an Enterprise at the airport, but the airport was like a 20-minute drive away, so it wasn't like it was within walking distance. So, and it was, on the, main 77 and on the highway that runs through Charlotte, so I wasn't going to walk there anyway, but they're like, yeah, we'll see if we can get you a ride and everything. I was like, okay, thanks. So the tow guy comes, got the rest of the stuff out of the car that I, might have kept, and it wasn't really anything in the car. So anyway, I had the car, and the tow company came there, and I was like, so am I getting a ride to the hotel? And the guy was like, oh, no, we can't offer, rides to get to the hotel. So either roadside assistance did not say that they were going to give him a ride to the hotel. I was like, oh, great. So I had to Uber, no big deal. And I had to call roadside assistance back again so they could pay for my Uber, because they, and the liability claim and all that stuff that I paid for, that they were liable to give me a ride from Uber. So by the time that they got a ride hooked up, and by the time the Uber driver came, this was like, I think it was almost noon. By the time the Uber driver got there, it was like about 11:45 to noon. So the Indy 500 was about ready to start. That was the least of my worries at that point. Obviously, I wanted a car so I can get home the next day and then hopefully get to the race on Sunday. So I, got to the airport, and I got back, and it was like probably 1:30, 1:45. It was about a little bit after 1:30. It was in between 1:30 and 1:45. And finally got back to the hotel just about 4 hours before the start of the race, a little over 4 hours before the start of the race. And so I was not able to get the predictions video out this weekend because of that. I actually, in the heat of the moment, when I couldn't go golfing, couldn't go to the Penske race shop, it was actually looking like I was going to be able to stream Saturday night too, because I would have had nothing else to do, assuming the hotel Wi-Fi was going to be good, which I never really got to check because all that stuff was going on, so I never, really did anything on the internet or anything like that. So Yeah, that was my story. I was able to go to the Coke 600, and I was able to catch the end of the Indy 500. I caught almost half the race. It was like lap 104, like somewhere around there when I watched, so about half the race. So I missed the entire first half of it. But saw Castroneves winning. Congratulations to Elio Castroneves, tying the record for the most Indy 500 wins of all time. So, yeah, indeed, Tim, and welcome to the stream, by the way. Yes, it's definitely had quite the adventure. Eye-opening experience. Once again, that's the second one I've had on these road trips. I've been to 16 Cup races. I've been, driving since I was 16. Never gotten in an accident. Never hit a deer. Never gotten a fender bender. Nothing. So to have something like that, I wouldn't even consider it an accident because I was parked in my parking space in the parking lot, and a trailer backed right into my left front. While I was parked. And I happened to be in the car, so, I don't even know if I would consider that an accident, but, yeah, so, anyway, also, I had to, switch vehicles, so, the vehicle that was damaged stayed in Charlotte. They had to take it to a repair shop, so that way the airport would technically take liability for that car going forward, and then I ended up picking up, a Nissan Sentra, at the airport as my car to take home, and they had, an exchange through Enterprise there, so... I didn't have to pay any extra money for the extra rental car. Again, because I paid the $80 waiver. So if you two benefits to the story. One, if you ever rent a vehicle, whether you fly somewhere, you rent a vehicle there, or maybe you're just renting a vehicle to drive somewhere like I did this weekend because not that my car was not drivable to go down there, but keeping the miles off the car and so anyway, pay the fee. It is worth it. Pay the fee. It's not expensive either. It's $20 a day. You have the car for 3 days, it's $60 total. Pay the fee. It is worth it because if something like that happens where I wouldn't consider myself that I even got in an accident. It wasn't my fault. But if I did not pay that fee, I was going to have to get that car fixed myself. And Enterprise would not have been able to swap me out. Or I could have been swapped out, but I would have had to pay for the next rental car, and I would have been throwing up a couple $100 there too, and I would have had to call the tow truck myself, so I would have had to pay that myself too. I would have and the Uber ride to the airport, a 20-minute drive that was like $40, so I would have had to pay probably nearly $1,000 total if I did not pay the simple $80 fee for the 4 days I had the car. So if you ever get a rental car, pay that. Now, I had rented a car one other time before, and I had paid that too, so I, knew forward I was going to pay it. But if you're one of those people, and I would call myself a big money saver or like a cheapskate, and that's why I go on as many trips as I do. That's why I have as much money as I do, despite, not having a, just a regular 40-hour-a-week job, nothing too special, not making a whole lot of money, but I'm saving a lot because I don't spend on anything outside of my, monthly fees and stuff. So, yeah, that heck of an experience to say the least. But always pay the waiver. Always pay the waiver. It worked out for me. If I didn't, I would have been out a whole lot of money this weekend, and I probably wouldn't have been able to go to the race because I would have had to get that car repaired. So, wouldn't have been able to go to the race, and I would have been stuck on top of the car itself and all the repairs and the damages and everything. I would have had to pay well over $1,000. Not counting the extra hotel nights, I would have had to spend 1 or 2 extra days, and then missing the race. It would have been way worse. So I was able to make it to the race Sunday. Thoroughly enjoyed the race on Sunday. Once I got back in my hotel, thoroughly enjoyed the end of the Indy 500 on Sunday. But all day Saturday, the trip down there was fine until I got to Mooresville. From about 4 o'clock Saturday into about almost 2 o'clock on Sunday was almost a nightmare. But I got back in one piece. Outside of that, it was a safe trip. There's always that one idiot on the road, usually it's on the highway, one of the highways coming to or from. In this case, it was in the parking lot of a Whataburger. And worst case scenario, too, and that was another thing. So I didn't have any, sort of food I could have eaten, and I didn't get anything at Whataburger before I left. So I literally went I stopped at a Zaxby's, I believe, Bojangles, sorry. I stopped at Bojangles on the way down to get food. at one point in time ate some like halfway into my trip, right around like noon, 1 o'clock ish in Virginia. I stopped near I can't remember where I stopped. Anyway, that's regardless of the point. So I stopped short and got some Bojo. So at least I had something to snack on, if I did get hungry. But I was too adrenaline rush to eat, and I didn't eat until the next morning. So yeah, I went without food for nearly an entire day, but that's okay. Made it back in one piece. Enjoy the race again, and hopefully you guys did too. So that was my story. That's why there was no predictions video this week, and yeah, I do have a picture. I vlogged some of the damage, and I might vlog like a video of that part of it in the actual vlog itself. So give me a quick second here. Try to find a picture of the damage. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it on this camera, but okay. So here's a picture. That's the overhead view of it. So that's from the top. So that's where you can obviously see there would have been a tire rub if there. No way I could have driven that 9 hours home. And then here's a close up image of it. Again, not a lot, but enough to where it was like in the just a bad spot. But just wasn't your day. Bad luck. And exactly. And because and all that led into one. If I would have went golfing, I would have never even gotten Whataburger. I would have never been there. If the Penske race shop was open, I would have gone there. And I might have went to that Whataburger to eat still because I didn't go golfing. And Penske race shop, I might have been in there an hour tops. And I don't think I would have been in there quite that long. So I probably still would have went there. But that guy wouldn't have been there. I would have gotten there way after the fact. None of that probably would have happened. But it's just, one little detail led into another, which led into me into a Whataburger parking lot, which led into me getting into a fender bender in a Whataburger parking lot. All right, so yeah, that's all for the race I have to say there. Both the trip and the race itself. The only other thing we have to do is the Fantasy Podcast Weekly Power Rankings. Every post-race analysis video we do with the Power Rankings, we go through a power rankings, my personal power rankings on the top drivers this season in the sport of NASCAR. We start off with number 10. We work our way up to number 1, and I'll give you my statistical and in-depth analysis on why I have each driver in a specific spot. So let me pull up the season statistics here so I can explain that as I go. All right. So, starting off, number 10. Number 10, going to be my man Ryan Blaney for the second straight week. Or actually, he was number 9 last week, excuse me. So he drops one more. He's very close to being off this list. Blaney has 6 top 10s on the season, 2 top 5s, and 1 win this year. So that when he's locked into the playoffs, he's 7th in points. 3 stage wins on the season as well. So he has really been fading in recent races. Again, 4 weeks ago, I want to say I had him 4th or 5th in the power rankings, and now he's down to number 10. And here's why. He has had 3 straight finishes outside the top 10. 13th, 17th, and 12th. Not terrible, but obviously not good. Definitely not where you would like it to be. So Penske as a whole is struggling right now. It's not like it's just Blaney. Again, we talked about the struggles with Brad Keselowski. Yeah, you took the points lead in the standings so far, Tim. So congratulations there as well. Inside Uranus, welcome to the stream as well. Wouldn't have gotten that incident if you weren't born, too. That is that is deep. So, but yeah, that's very true. Plus birthday and Memorial Day. Oh, there you go. Happy birthday, Tim. Oh, yeah, it's definitely not my fault. And the guy was nice about it. I just thought it was awkward that he ordered food in the middle of the police giving the citation report. I was like, he's just like waiting on the police, or the policewoman in the cop car, in the car, and he's just like, yeah, I'll order a Whataburger with extra cheese, or whatever the heck he ordered. I know he ordered a Whataburger. I heard that part of it, but I didn't. I heard something with cheese. I don't know if it was no cheese or extra cheese, but it's something with cheese on it too. Anyway, okay, so Ryan Blaney comes in at number 10. At number 9 on the list this weekend, we have our only other driver without a win on the power rankings list. Kevin Harvick comes in at number 9. Harvick's got 11 top 10s on the year. How could you not put him on the list? I would say he'd be higher up on the list, but he doesn't have a win this season, so he's not completely locked into the playoffs. He is 153 points above the cutoff line. He's ninth in points, so he's a little bit behind Blaney there, and he doesn't have the win, but he's more consistent what Blaney has been, especially in recent races. Outside of the DNF at COTA that Kevin Harvick had, he has been on a tear, and that accident wasn't really his fault. Again, it was raining. He checked up, and what could have been an accident, or what was an accident in front of him, he checked up and got ran into from behind. But outside of the 37th at COTA, his finishes are 10th, 6th, 6th, 2nd, and 4th in the last 7 races outside of COTA. So that is a very good statistical basis there. Kevin Harvick easily in the top 10 discussion for a championship. And he's got the experience factor of all of it, so that's going to help him as we get deeper into the playoffs. Coming in at number 8 on the power rankings list this week, and after we go through number 8, we'll go into the rest of the order as well. Number 8 is going to be Alex Bowman. He moves up 1 spot this week. Him and Harvick swapped a spot in the power rankings. Bowman is 12th in the point standings with 2 wins, 4 top 5, 7 top 10s, and he has led over 100 laps this season as well. No stage wins on the year for him, but those 2 race wins, those are big, especially considering he's not in the top 10 in points. And the only reason he's not higher on the list with 2 wins this season, like the other 2 drivers with multiple wins this year, is because he has not been consistent. But he has been consistent recent weeks, which has led him to that 2nd win this year at Dover a few weeks ago, in which he gains 1 spot. He won that 2nd race at Dover, moved him up to 10th. And he was consistent the last couple weeks. He's gone from 9th to 8th, so he's slowly moving up in the power rankings. Bowman continues that again, and the next couple weekends, he'll be at or right around 5th in the power rankings video in weeks to come. He's only got 1 more top 10 than Ryan Blaney. He doesn't have as many top 10s as Harvick, but he's got more top 10s or more top 5s than Blaney, same amount of top 5s as Harvick, plus 2 wins. That's why I had to put him ahead of Harvick, but he is behind both those drivers in points. So again, the consistency is not there for Bowman and his crew, but when they're fast and they can get to the end of the race, they do very, very, very well. Close to 900 subs. Maybe we'll get to 1,000 by the end of the year. Oh, yeah, we could definitely get to 1,000 by the end of the year. Definitely. That new NASCAR game comes out. That's going to be a hit. Just like NASCAR Heat 5 was. I can imagine it will be at least. Notice NASCAR 7 is a little easier to control the car than 05. Yes, it is. It is. Each game progressively gets better. 05 is a little easier than Thunder 04, I've noticed, too, in the playthrough so far. The drivers they kept off the power rankings list this week that just missed out, Christopher Bell, who's got a win this season, is just left off the list. Another driver, Austin Dillon's been very close to cracking that list here this week. He was running top 10 first 3 stages, but could not get that top 10 by the end of the day. I think as the race got into the nighttime, I noticed Dillon wasn't running as fast as what he was in the daytime, so maybe that hurt him. Maybe they just couldn't keep up with the racetrack like the 8 of Reddick's team did, but 6 top 10s on the year for Austin Dillon. He has definitely been consistent. He's 11th in points. Tyler Reddick is moving himself closer to the power rankings list as well. He's got 8 top 10s. Tyler Reddick, sophomore driver, has 8 top 10s this season, 1 top 5 to show for it. He's 13th in points, so he is no longer the last driver in on points. Chris Buescher is. He's 61 points above the cutoff line, just over 1 race worth of points ahead of Matty D, who is the first driver below it right now. So Reddick is on the uphill climb as well. Michael McDowell has a win. He's just off the list. And Brad Keselowski, we have mentioned that he has had struggles in recent weeks, and guys, it's not getting any better. I have been very heavily critical on Brad Keselowski in this 2 team this season, that he could be a round of 16 exit. And as of right now, I'm sticking with that. As of right now, I think Keselowski would be eliminated in the round of 16 with his performance. Another finish outside the top 10. That is the 4th straight finish outside the top 10. It is the 8th finish outside the top 10 in the last 10 races. So only 2 top 10s in the last 10 races. 2 top 10s Hang on, I think I'm looking at the wrong category. No. Okay, I was looking at the points there for a second. So he's only got 2 top 10s in the last 11 races. That's not good. 9 finishes outside of the top 10 in the last 11 races for Brad Keselowski. And only 5 top 10s this season. We're another week into this. Let's compare Dirt Track Gaming 31. Welcome to the stream. Dirt Track 31 Gaming, excuse me. Welcome to the stream. Brad did finish best of the Penske cars, though. Yeah, but that team's still struggling. They didn't score any stage points in a 4-stage race. So, Penske as a whole struggled this weekend, but Keselowski's been struggling a lot more than Blaney or Logano, especially in recent weeks. And the stats go to prove it. The season stats for Keselowski versus other drivers, we'll go through drivers that have just as many or more top 10s than Brad Keselowski, just like we did last week. Austin Dillon has more top 10s than Brad Keselowski. Tyler Reddick has more top 10s than Brad Keselowski. Chris Buescher only has 1 less top 10 than Brad Keselowski. Christopher Bell, Michael McDowell had the same amount of top 10s as Brad Keselowski. That's the big one right here. Who's going to have more top 10s at the end of the season, Michael McDowell or Brad Keselowski? And I usually save the predictions for the predictions video, but I say Brad Keselowski has another finish outside the top 10 this week at Sonoma. This is his worst road course statistically. He's pretty good at Watkins Glen. That's the only road course he's really good at all. I think Keselowski has had 3 straight finishes outside the top 10 at Sonoma, looking at my race stats. Not good, especially considering how much he is struggling. He is currently, well, he had that win at Talladega, so he's in the playoffs, so he won't have to worry about, being bumped out there. But again, round of 16 exit is my prediction for Brad Keselowski as of right now. That was my prediction last week. It's my prediction again this week. Hamlin's been struggling a bit. Hamlin's not been struggling. He's come back to normalcy, I think. Considering how great of a year he had last year and how great of a start he had the first 8 to 9 races this season, he's still getting good, consistent runs, just not competing for as many wins as what he was. And a lot of that's just because Hendrick has been so dominant, too. Like, Hamlin's still been the best. Him and Truex have still... And Busch have had great runs with Toyota consecutively. Hamlin just doesn't have that win. Penske is struggling as a whole, and I personally feel that it's a long season. They could turn it around with Brad and Matty D. Yeah, Matty D below the cutoff line. He turned it around big time quick, but he's going to need to keep turning it around because he's starting to slip behind some of those other guys. Like Buescher got another top 10 this weekend. Reddick got another top 10. They're only pulling further ahead of Matt DiBenedetto right now. But yeah, Michael McDowell, same amount of top 10s as Keselowski. And it's not like we're early in the season. Brad Keselowski and Michael McDowell, they have the same amount of top 10s in the first 15 races of the season. We're almost halfway through the entire season. We're over halfway through the regular season. They have the same amount of top 10s. And I mentioned Michael McDowell is a good road course racer. He's finished on the top 10 in both road course races this season, including 1 road course race last year as well. So 3 of the last 4 road course races, Michael McDowell's finished in the top 10. Brad Keselowski at Sonoma, 3 finishes outside of the top 10. We could see after this weekend, Michael McDowell could have more top 10s this year than Brad Keselowski. Concerning that 2 team has fallen off the face of the earth and fast after the win at Dega a handful of races ago. I mean, outside of that, they could be in danger of missing the playoffs if they didn't get that win this season the way they've been performing right now. So I think he'd be about 100 points to the good, which is still pretty good, but considering he's Brad Keselowski, you'd think he'd be way more than 100 points above, especially this far into the season. Number 7 on the power rankings list for this week. Now I got to pull the stats back up again. Oh, okay, there we go. Coming in at number 7 on the power rankings list this week is Joey Logano. He's the highest of the Penske drivers once again on the power rankings list. 8 top 10s for Logano, 6 top 5s, and he has won 3 stages, 1 race win this year coming at Dirt Bristol. He's pretty solid on the road courses, both of those races so far this year. He almost won Daytona road course. He was in the top 5 all day at Coda a couple weeks ago, so expect him to maybe have a decent run at Sonoma as well. So look for Keselowski to, just maintain himself in that 5th to 7th range on the power rankings list. Right now he comes in at 7th. mainly because JGR and Hendrick Motorsports are that much ahead of him, and I only have JGR and Hendrick Motorsport drivers in the top 6 on the power rankings list. Coming in at number 6 himself, it is Kyle Busch. KFB comes in at number 6. He's got one more top 10 than Joey Logano, and one less top 5. They each have one win. Logano's got one more stage win. But comparing Logano's stats in recent weeks to Kyle Busch's stats is vastly different. Kyle Busch in the last 5 races, 3rd, 10th, 27th, 3rd, and 1st in the last 5 races, compared to Joey Logano in the last 5 races. 17th at Charlotte, 3rd, 5th, 13th, 17th, and then 39th at Dega as well. So he has had 3 finishes outside the top 10. Busch has only had 1 in recent races, and Busch has a win in that recent stretch. So that's why Kyle Busch is ahead. Or sorry, that you know what? I'm making a. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, I did have. Okay, I was thinking I said Logano was ahead. Okay, so that is why I have Kyle Busch at number 6 and Joey Logano at number 7. So recent success would state that Kyle Busch has been a better driver. KFB is back. Coming in next on the list at number 5, so we're into our top 5 now for the week, is going to be Chase Elliott. If the Championship 4 started today, I would have Elliott just missing the cutoff line. That's because he's only got 1 win this year, but he is propelling to the top so quickly. Again, just 4 weeks ago, I had him right around 10th, 9th, 10th, 8th in the power rankings. He's up to 5th, so he's moving up pretty quickly. Again, the 1 win to show for. He's got 7 top 5s and 9 top 10s through the first 15 races this season. Only 1 stage win, but he's up to 4th in the regular season standings. He was running 7th to 8th a lot this year. The consistency Hendrick Motorsports has been really good lately. He's not that far behind 2nd in points with his teammates Byron and Larson as well. So, yeah, I think 5 is a good number for Chase Elliott, considering the 4 guys ahead of him have been better from start to finish this year versus Elliott has only been really good for the last handful of weeks. And that's why Elliott's moving up, but that's why he's not in the top 4. He wins at Sonoma this week, gets that 2nd win of the year. He very easily can move into my Championship 4 after next week. All right, so on to my Championship 4. These are the 4 drivers in this order, how I think they would finish off the season standings. Coming in at number 4, it is William Byron. Byron has been in the Championship 4, my personal Championship 4, for now 4 consecutive weeks. He had that top 10 streak come to an end a couple weeks ago, actually last week at COTA. Not this last weekend at Charlotte, but the weekend before at COTA is when that streak came to an end, but he is still had a very, very good season. That was an 11th place run there, and he got another top 5 finish this weekend, finishing 4th at Charlotte, ran top 5 all day long. 12 top 10s on the year is still the most top 10s of any driver so far this season. As far as laps led, William Byron has led the 6th most laps this season as well. He's only got 1 stage win to show for, but 1 race win as well. Plus, again, 3rd in the regular season standings. He's actually tied for 2nd, but because Larson has more wins than Byron, Larson has the tiebreaker for the regular season standings. And then the 2nd tiebreaker would be average finish if they were tied in wins. But he was 2nd in points. He's tied for 2nd still, but he doesn't have the tiebreaker. So he's still up there in points. Reason why he's in the Championship 4 over guys that are just below him, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, is because, again, the consistency for Byron has been there all year versus for Elliott and Busch, the consistency has really only been there in the last 5 or 6 races. For Byron, it has been there the whole season. That's why he's got the most top 10s this year, and that's why he's got the 2nd most top 5s, 3rd most top 5s this season as well. The only drivers he trails in top 5s with would be Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin. And again, Elliott he's picking up the consistency, but I know there's a lot of Chase Elliott fans out there, but Byron has just been more consistent from the start of the year, so that's why he's ahead of Elliott. Coming in at number 3, this guy is slowly starting to move down And I got to do it because he doesn't have a win this season. Denny Hamlin. Denny, man, it's tough. It really is. I had Hamlin at number 1 for so long this season, but once Truex won his 3rd race, I dropped Hamlin to 2. Hamlin was at 2 for a couple weeks, and now he's back to 3. He has been the most consistent driver all season long. Outside of William Byron, him and Byron have been the 2 most consistent drivers this year. 11 top 10s, the 2nd most top 10s this year. He still has the most top 5s with 9, but still no wins to show for. He leads the regular season championship standings, so that would be 15 playoff points if he holds on there. The field's closing in on him, too. Hamlin had over a 100-point lead over second place. Larson having a 70-point day in the last race. Byron has been scoring a lot of stage points, too. They've closed that gap from what was 102 to 76, so still over a one-race lead, but the gap has closed considerably in the last couple weeks, especially this last weekend. So I have Hamlin down to number 3. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Martin Truex Jr., who was number 1. Martin Truex Jr. has 3 wins on the season. That's the only reason he's ahead of Denny Hamlin, because Hamlin has by far had more consistency, but Truex has shown that he can get that consistency to victory lane where Hamlin has not, because he has 3 less top 10s and 4 less top 5s than Denny Hamlin. Plus, again, I mentioned Hamlin's been the most consistent driver this year. He leads the point standings, and Truex has fallen down to 6th. He was in 2nd 4 weeks ago, so he is on a downhill slide. Had to drop it from number 1. The guy who moves up to number 1 for the first time in the power rankings list this season, Kyle Larson. 10 top 10s this season, 3rd most there. 2nd most top 5s with 8. 2 wins now to show for. He currently is 2nd in the point standings. And 9 stage wins this season. Ridiculous. 9 stage wins in 15 races. So 9 playoff points there. 9 playoff points if he finishes 2nd in the regular season standings. That'd be 18. 2 wins, that would be another 10 playoff points added on to the 18. That's 28 playoff points Kyle Larson would have if the playoffs started today, and we still have 11 more races before the playoffs. Don't be surprised if he goes to victory lane a couple more times before the postseason starts and wins more stages. He by far has the most stages won this year, by 4 over Denny Hamlin. So 2 wins, far more stage wins, so he's got more playoff points. Not as consistent as Denny Hamlin this year, but he's pretty close. He's 3rd, if I had to say, for consistency this season. And the main reason is because he, can't get the job done a lot of the times, but he has still gotten the job done twice. He has led the most laps this year, too. Kyle Larson has led over 1,100 laps already this year. 1,105 laps led. The next closest is Denny Hamlin with 754 laps led. So Larson has led over 300 laps more than the next closest driver in 15 races this season. Unbelievable. So again, my championship 4, if it started today, would be Larson, Hamlin, Truex, and Byron. Same championship 4 I had last week, just kind of switched the order within the top 4. Now Kyle Larson is my championship favorite after 15 weeks instead of Truex. There we go. 10 playoff points for 2nd place in the regular season. No, it's not. It's 15. It goes 15 and then 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Unless they changed it. I mean, if it's 10, then it's 29. That only further proves my point. So, there we go. That's going to wrap it up for the NASCAR Fantasy Podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you guys agree, or maybe you disagree. Comment down below on the Power Rankings list there. Like, share, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. NASCAR Heat 5 coming up in a few short minutes. Just got to refill my water, get the PS4 ready to go. I qualified last night and put it in rest mode, so it shouldn't be too much longer. Probably within, again, 5 to 10 minutes, and we'll get that race underway. Chicagoland for the NASCAR Xfinity Series on NASCAR Heat 5, again, coming up next. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We do full race live streams with a realistic broadcast, NASCAR video games, and even the real races on the weekends as well. Road trip vlogs as far as like race vlogs and everything else. It'll be a wild vlog to watch when that uploads on Thursday, I will tell you that much. Again, I told the story behind it all, but you guys will get to see the footage as well. Thanks, everybody, for your support, as always, and I'll see you very soon.